Oh, there.
Oh, there you go.
All right, guys. Thank you for coming. I know you have an interest in presenting career counseling skills to your clients, so we're going to be talking about a couple of different facets. The first is being prepared for an interview. We want to discuss this logistically, so that would be knowing your rights, and for you that would be empowering your clients to know their rights. When they're in an interview, knowing what's appropriate for them to say, what's not appropriate. Around wellness, we want them to know that they're in the best state of their mind and they're ready for an interview when they're clear and they're focused. So having that logical viewpoint and also being ready and being in an open state of mind. There's a couple of overarching themes, and that would be honesty. So you're being honest in an interview, and you can be honest if you're informed. You're relaxed. You're able to be direct with your employer. And as a result of wellness skills, you're able to have a low stress and non-defensive outlook towards the interview and everything that you're going to be focusing on. Mm-hmm. So one of the keys that Susie and I thought would be important, and it's highlighted in meditation that I'm going to talk about, is focusing on the present, being very in the moment in an interview. So everyone has a past, and that's something that if you're talking to somebody who may or may not have convictions, it doesn't matter. Everybody has a past. The best thing you can do in an interview and for your clients is to encourage them to play on their positive. What can they do for the employers? What benefits can they bring? How can their past help the employers? What have they overcome? How would this be beneficial?
Right. So that's the wellness tie-in that you can pass on to an individual who might have something in their past and they're worried about being able to obtain a job. Is where wellness comes in is if you can stay present and focused, it's going to be a lot easier to be honest about something that you consider to be difficult. As far as an interviewing skill, first and foremost, you have to be honest but brief about whatever you're bringing to the employer you're concerned about. And so what Allie wants to do is the wellness to help, some exercises that someone can do before an interview to ground them so that they're ready, because you might have a client who has to say, I do have a drug conviction, but this is what I can bring to your company. And they want to be specific. You never want to leave it open. I was convicted of, state it, and then immediately be able to follow it up with, and this is what I've learned, and this is how I've grown. But that could be nerve-wracking for anyone, regardless of what you're having to present in the interview. So being able to ground yourself before an interview is highly helpful.
Sure. And just as a general, the National Institute of Health has been researching complementary and alternative medicine. And one of the things that they're finding is, aside from vitamins, supplements, the second most reported thing that people engage in is meditation. So I think as counselors, we really need to be familiar with this practice. This is something that it's going to help your stress level. It's going to help your heart. It's going to improve a lot of great things about your functioning. And this is important when you have people who maybe are struggling with stress before an interview. This is important for everybody, but it's also important to stay relevant as counselors. If this is something that people are doing, we need to know about it. We need to be able to practice this or help people practice it. So, I would like to save the meditation for the end, but if I could do, would it be helpful if I just gave you an introduction of the meditation? Okay. Most of my information is derived from Toni Bernhard. She writes a really cool book. It's called Turning Straw into Gold, Life Through the Buddhist Lens. So as we're going through, and she's talking from a very beginner mindset, the number one thing that she can impart to people is be flexible. I think with meditation or with anything that we start out, we think we have to be good. We think if we're starting this, we have to be perfect. We have to give 45 minutes, whatever amount, every day. This is the time that I have to do it. If I don't, I'm a failure. And that's one of the things that she says, no, life happens. Instead of just quitting meditating because, life is happening, why don't you give 10 minutes if you can give 10 minutes? What if you can give 20 one day? Why don't you give 20? So she says flexibility. And that's a great outlook towards life too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not perfect, but here's what I am and here's what I can do in this moment.
Being able to bring that to a job interview and helping to teach your clients the essence of being there, being at the interview, being honest, and bolstering the self-esteem so that they know that they are bringing their best selves. And I think we focus a lot on what people should wear, how they should answer a question, all highly relevant, but we overlook the nerves that they're feeling in having to say, this is my past, whether it be a conviction or a firing. It's still something that's going to be brought up, and they need the courage to be able to say it. So being able to teach a client to do some meditation days before, hours before, and minutes before an interview can really help them to present in the best way, which is one of the big things people look for in an interview. If you're being authentic and they believe that you've overcome or you've learned a lesson from that journey, then it's easier for someone to take you seriously, because they make that snap judgment that you are being honest, you're real, and you know yourself. And I think the art of meditation is taking that time to know yourself in that moment.
Right, yeah. And we'll go into it a little bit more here, but one of the things that I like about meditation is it's very accepting. And this is kind of where, if you're talking with somebody with a past, it's not saying be perfect now. It's not saying don't be stressed. It's saying be aware and sit with it for a minute, and then, try to move yourself back to that point of calm. It's saying, I am stressed and I'm here, and noticing that stress. And there's something called a story that you play for yourself. It's like your story. So what are you telling yourself when you're stressed? Are you saying, I'm not gonna, the last interview I really messed up and I showed up late, and this boss, I could tell she really didn't like me, and this is your story that you're telling yourself. It's wrapped around the stress. So how would your story be different if you weren't saying that and you're just saying, this is stress. This is stress. And you just sat with it for a minute.
If you can reframe it and look at your past, whether it be a firing or a felony, if you can look at that past and say, that's where I was and I'm here in this office, or if you can say to your client, you were in that office building in front of a possible employer, you made it from being fired or a felony to that present moment. So you're stressed and overwhelmed, but you made it. That was a journey for you. And I just don't think we empower people enough with that aspect.
Right. I think as a society, we're very forward-oriented. It's always, okay, you've done this, now do this, this, and this. Even in an interview, are you listening to what people are saying, or are you thinking about the next thing you're going to say? Meditation helps you be in the moment, which is really a great tool to be a great listener and to be a great worker.
Yeah.
So why meditate? I know I've touted the benefits of meditation, but decrease stress, obviously. Improved cardiovascular functioning, better ability to focus. How scary can it be sometimes in an interview where you're not even hearing people because you're so nervous? Or
you're sweating, you're starting to hyperventilate. Yeah. So,
that's a lot of different things. Reduction in pain. Just basic things that everybody needs in life. And if you've been in pain for years and years, I don't know the coping skills, but here's a healthy one that you can engage in. So, the main reason, and I think this is something that people don't think about, it's to rest and take care of your mind. The mind is a tool like anything else, and if you think about how often it is going and how little it is taken care of, when do you ever just sit and say, my mind needs a break? I don't think that's something that we ever give people or that we encourage clients to do. I can honestly say I've never told somebody to take care of their mind. That's not something that comes up for me. I've said, maybe you should exercise, maybe you should eat healthier. I've never said, well, maybe your mind, being the finest tool in the world, should be treated as such. It's a delicate tool. It's not going to function as well if you don't take care of it. And that's not something we ever impart to people. So that's something that meditation can really help with. So,
and that's a good skill for right before an interview to help pass on to your clients, so that right before the interview they can have that peaceful moment and they're not, as you said, racing ahead, thinking about the answer to the inevitable question about the past and their past employers, and what about the gap in your history? Where were you for that year? You're not racing ahead already. You're present and you're prepared for what comes. You're actually there.
And the next thing, it's all about knowing our minds. If we don't know a problem, as counselors, how can we change the problem? I think there was a really great quote by a Buddhist monk, and it was something along the lines of, if we're sitting still with ourselves and the water clears, and our mind is this water, and we can look down, we're going to see some really beautiful jewels. Probably going to see some shoes and some tires too. And it's kind of that same way. How can you notice these things, and how can you change them if you haven't had time to sit with them? So I thought that was a really cool quote. Yeah. So we can see the sparkling jewels at the bottom, but we also see the rubbish, right? And it's noticing it, and it's starting to change it when we're aware of it. So, and that goes into habits of the mind. Anger, worry, other painful mind states, they're just habits. It's not to discount that the suffering isn't genuine, but it's to say that we get caught up in them. One amazing effect of meditation is that as we repeatedly and non-judgmentally observe our habitual thought and emotional patterns, they lose their tight grip on us. So I think a good example today, I woke up in the morning and I had 2 presentations to do. This is one of them. And I started playing all the things that I had to do, and I started playing how I was stressed, and I had this to do, and on Thursday I had this, and this to do. And then I stopped myself and I said, this is stress. I identified it as my emotion. It's my habit. It's where my mind goes. And I said, this is stress. And then I focused, and I'll get into it, but I anchored myself. So, and that's something, it's non-judgmental observation. I think that's the key. How often do we non-judgmentally observe ourselves? You know, this is us, and that's what Susie was saying too.
And I would say it's applicable to, like, when you do a presentation, whether it be at work or at school. If you take that moment to think about what do you do right before the presentation. I know what I do before a presentation that works and what I do before a presentation that doesn't work. If I let go, which to me would be a form of meditation, or like you said, taking care of your mind, I have to let go for a minute, because if I'm already thinking through the progression of everything, I will talk ahead of myself and forget major things I wanted to point out, which is the same thing that would happen in an interview. You're already predicting and you're not present, you're not there.
Yeah. So again, I just want to reiterate, non-judgmental observation. This means consciously aware in the mind state when it arrives. It's labeling it, saying this is stress.
And acceptance,
yeah,
right?
Not adding to those stressful stories we're so accustomed to spinning as a society. So that's stopping it. So I just thought that was a really powerful statement. If we drop the stories and just observe the mind state, we can begin to change it. And that's a pretty powerful thing. Okay, and another thing, it's good for stress management when you're not meditating. I think once you get into that pattern of being very aware, that's something that carries on even if you're not in the state of meditation. So when you're in the interview, how great would it be to be, I'm a little stressed. I need to focus. Just that little bit, saying I've practiced this. This is something it's a tool in my toolbox. I know what I am. I'm not going to stress myself out by being stressed, which you can. Snowball effect.
I think to build off of that, of being there, and the I like to call it like the acceptance of I'm stressed, is acknowledging for your clients as well, whatever the past is, like I said, a firing or a felony, that the fact of the matter is you made it to the interview, you have these things coming with you, and I forgot how I wanted to tie that in. When you're there in the moment, knowing that you understand your journey, knowing your rights, knowing that you can clean up your record, knowing that you are bringing something to the company. I think too often someone shows up after having been fired or having a record or some sort of past that they're worried an employer is going to know about for whatever reason, that they need to almost beg for the job. And we want them to go to the interview with, I have this to offer, almost bringing the briefcase of, I have all these things to offer, all of these things I overcame. And that's part of accepting how you are in the moment, is gaining that new perspective on what you're bringing. You're not asking to be hired, you're saying, I have something to offer.
Okay, and the last step is I kind of want to go briefly over how to meditate. So the first thing is to pick a quiet space. It can be really hard to meditate, perhaps if your neighbor chooses the time of the day to be blasting the stereo, or the car alarm goes off. I know life's not perfect, but maybe choosing a time where you know people aren't going to be around. It's going to be quiet. So if you have kids, maybe it's waking up. I pointed right to you. So if you have kids, it's waiting till the school bus goes off, or it's waking up a little bit earlier. It's giving yourself whatever amount of time you think you can give. Again, not beating yourself up. And one thing that helps you, and I know this kind of is a catch-22, because in the beginning I said be flexible, but at the same time there's a certain amount of accountability, and maybe going in and saying I am going to give 20 minutes. So understanding that sometimes that can't happen, but going in with a plan that you know is going to be a little bit flexible if it needs to be. Okay, and the second step to meditating is finding a comfortable position. I know for me, I have a lot of back pain, and that's something that I work with and I acknowledge, but it's for me, it's finding support on the bed or it's a comfy chair. I can't really do the hard floor, but some people swear by the floor is where they need to meditate. So it's finding what works for you. It's closing your eyes. Typically it starts with your eyes being closed, but again, if you're really tired and that leads you to a state of drowsiness, leave them open, whatever works for you. Typically you start meditation with a body scan, and that's just focusing in on how your whole body feels in the moment. That's giving yourself awareness into your breath. You're feeling how it feels around you. Is it hot? Is it cold? What are you experiencing in different parts of your body? Just really getting in touch with the whole body, head to toes. Is your body tired? Is it energized? Is there discomfort in your body? Not anything wrong with that discomfort, but just acknowledging that it's there. Grounding your attention to your body as a whole. Does that make sense so far? And notice the physical sensation of your breath as it comes in and it goes out of your body. Find the place in your body where that physical sensation is the strongest. So for me, it's right here. I notice it. Most people notice it right here. Some people it's through their nostrils. It's finding a place where your breath, it could be in your throat, it could be in the rise and fall of your abdomen, it could be a lot of different places. But it doesn't matter. Just rest your attention on the place where you can most strongly feel your breath, because this is your anchor to the present moment. If there's anything you can get from meditation, it's finding your anchor. And in an interview, this is the most important thing to impart to your clients, finding that spot that they can connect to. If they feel most strongly, this will be the thing that rests them and brings them comfort throughout the whole interview. If this is something they can practice before, this is okay to sit with where I'm at, and that'll provide a lot more strength and
I
a lot of things.
I like for the grounding when you're sitting in the interview. I'm doing it right now actually because I hate presentations. Your toes, you can run your toes back and forth. It just reminds you that you're supported. You use the bed. Like if I'm in an interview or doing a presentation, you can run your toes and get a feel for the floor. You can push into the chair, push your feet into the floor, along with your breath, and that keeps you grounded and centered.
All right, so as you're breathing, you're investigating with interest the physical sensation of your breathing. You notice how the in-breath feels compared to the out-breath. You're noticing the feeling in the beginning, the middle, and the end of a breath. That's how often do you focus on your breathing? I mean, honestly, to take it apart like that and to be really in touch with what you're doing, those in and out breaths, that'll really help you when you're in an interview. It'll really help you know, am I breathing shallow? Am I taking a full breath right now? Have I had a middle part to my breath, or am I just not even getting an out breath? So yeah, gently bringing yourself back to that anchor spot, because it's okay. Your mind is active. You're going to wander. Mm-hmm. It's very natural, and it's important to let your clients know they're not doing meditation wrong. It's right. Your mind should be moving. It should be active. But bringing it back to that breath and giving yourself a lot of comfort in space and not being judgmental. It's okay to go back again and again and again to that focus on your breath and your anchor spot.
And the day of the interview, when that question comes, like, I like to use myself for an example. I lost the job, so that was the dreaded question. So what were you doing the year of 2011? Perfect place for a breath in an interview, to take the pause, take a conscious, deliberate breath from whatever your center is, whether it be your nose, your chest, your stomach, and then answer purposefully. The breath helps you remind you, and that's something to pass on to your client. It's a reminder that I'm doing this on purpose. I'm doing this with intention, and it's a moment of meditation of, I'm here. I know myself. I am aware of what I'm about to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this sounds a little abstract, but if we can just think about the fact that thoughts and emotions come and go, they're not a part of somebody's fixed identity. Mm-hmm. And if they can understand that just because in that moment they are stressed, they are not stressed, that can be the most beneficial thing for them. I think just noticing the unpleasantness, so when that question comes along, noticing that you're a little upset, don't judge that fact. I mean, it would be natural. So, sensory input becomes less compelling, and when you're a little more calm in your anchor spot, then you can return to the question. Mm-hmm. I doubt that somebody in an interview would notice if you took a second or two. to think, and to breathe. So that's just in summary. That's the basic mindfulness meditation. I think if I can impart anything with you, it would be going over that sensation of breathing again and again, and your body as an anchor to return to. So your body is always going to be there, and if you can focus on keeping really grounded with it, breathing again and again, wherever meditation takes you, wherever these job interviews take you, understanding that you're approaching this with curiosity and open-heartedness.
Mm-hmm.
So this interview it should be non-judgmental as you would approach any meditation practice.
Mm-hmm. And being able to pass on to your clients the, hopefully you would be working with the person or the group over a period of time, but so that they can practice, but imparting upon them how to show up at the interview and physically ground themselves, to breathe at the interview. I also but part of meditation might be visualizing. Can you find a window to walk over to and pick a color and scan for it? It's just another way to ground your senses and be more present in a calming way. And teaching them that these are skills that, although, like Allie said in the beginning, yes, it's nice to have long periods of time, but you can do this literally right before an interview. And it is a tool that you can use repeatedly in demanding situations.
So yeah, and I know I don't have a smartphone. Lots of people do. There's plenty of quick apps that you can get on your phone. One is called Sleepio, and that's sleep with an I-O. And it's just something really neat. It takes about 5 minutes, and it's just it's visualization, and you're in a better place. So if you can sit in your car and put this on your phone before an interview, I mean, I've done these things, and it's hard to get stressed out after you do them. It's crazy how it changes your body if you give it a little bit of time and a little bit of care. So, well, we're at 20 minutes. Is it okay if we maybe do a quick little meditation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, another important thing I just turned down the lights a little bit. It's a little intense in here. There's not a lot of natural sunlight. I think that affects me too, and I'm really aware of it. So, all right, guys, if you could just close your eyes or do whatever is most comfortable to you. And your feet, if you could spread them apart. And your hands, if it's comfortable to you, could you set them with your palms out or whatever feels most natural to you. All right. I want you to pay attention to your whole body, how you're feeling in the chair. If you're sitting up or if you're leaning back, what points are connecting right now? What parts of your body are connecting to the ground? What parts are surfaced on the chair? What parts are feeling the air in the room? How does it feel as you're taking breaths in and as you're breathing out? How does it feel for your body to be still? Is there any part of your body that you're noticing? And again, taking in the body as a whole. Start to try to disengage your mind from busy thoughts and ideas. If you can just gather your attention to the center of your body, to your abdomen, and to your core, while keeping awareness that your body is a whole. If you are breathing right now, according to mindfulness meditation, you are doing everything right. Allow the outside world to gradually melt away and dissolve. And if that means from time to time not paying attention to my voice so you can experience a deeper sense of calm, then do so. Now, as we're starting, you'll find that your whole body, as you're paying attention to it, it's very easy to shift your awareness to certain parts of your body. Pay attention to this as I tell you to focus your attention to your left toes, how they feel as a part of your whole body. Are they numb? Are they warm? Are they tingling? What do you feel in your left feet? Things good. I'm sorry. Experiencing whatever you might be feeling, knowing that it's not wrong. If you feel nothing at all in your toes, and then move your attention down to the core, to your heel. This is the base and the support for your body. And it's connected to the ground. What do you feel as you're connected? we're imagining your feet as a whole, can you travel up to your ankle? Is there anything that you feel in here now that you're comfortable and relaxed? Is there any pain? And as your mind is going, is there anything else that you find that's drawing your attention away? Do you feel distracted? If so, maybe giving it a moment to think about it and trying to move back to your foot, your calf as a whole. All while focusing on your point, your center of your body, wherever your breathing feels strongest. Focusing on your in and your out. Breathing. Now as you're breathing, you can let go of that left foot, let it dissolve as we bring our mind to awareness of the whole leg, of the thigh, of the left foot. Imagine the breath traveling from your body down into your leg as you take a new breath. And as you let go, imagine everything dissolving. Great, and I can keep going. How do you guys feel?
Energized.
Yeah, and that's only one part of your body. I think in a body scan we would go through every single part of your body until we got up to the throat and the head. There's a lot of tension in the lower back, so all these key points that you really want to spend some time on. Now I only did the left foot. It's more of a challenge. I don't think people very often pay attention to these little things, the toes, the heel. How often do you feel connected to your toes? Really?
I think that's why
Unless you
laugh,
stubble.
actually, whenever you say toes. I don't know.
But I will promise you this, now that you've done it, do it once or twice more and you won't forget it.
Yeah.
I first learned it probably 20 years ago, and it is still my go-to because, as Ali said, it's not something you normally pay attention to.
Yeah.
And for me, it serves two purposes. You can impart to a client, nobody's paying attention to your toes, right? So it's secret, it's private, so it's a quick grounding in an awkward situation.
I like that idea.
Yeah, isn't it?
It is, they're so private, and like I could sit here all day and no one's gonna know.
Well, if
Yeah.
you know you're paying attention and
Yeah.
you're focusing on your body and you're doing a body scan. So
And
I think
what-
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Once you do that, and once you teach that to other people, I find I do it all the time when I'm upset or nervous or scared. I have found it's habitual after a while because it's so surprising when you tune into something you don't pay attention to.
So, all right. Well, I hope there's a lot of resources. Even if you want to go on YouTube and you just look up mindfulness meditation for beginners.
Mhm.
I want you to give me that website
Sure.
again.
Yeah.
Actually, I
I
want you
will.
to just download the app for this.
Yeah, I'll help you guys with that. But yeah, there's tons of apps, and there's some really, really neat people out there that are doing some really great things in mindfulness meditation.
I might do some of this with the guys. Like when I do group mix
Oh, that would be fantastic.
meditation.
And there were two things that I didn't quite link in the beginning. Two important facts that I think are important to pass on to people. Records in Allegheny County can be expunged.
That's where I want your
After
resources.
5 years.
That's where I want your resources too on this stuff. And I'm looking at this website right here with the exoffenders.net.
Yes, exoffenders.net, and it gives you a list of. I knew some of these from the other work that I did, but I think it's really important to know. The list is long, but these are the things that I think are important to know for your clients in the future. It's the big ones: Bed Bath & Beyond, AT&T, Baskin Robbins, Applebee's, Denny's, Dollar Tree, Jiffy Lube. A lot of plumbing places, don't know why, but there's a big list of those. Sony, Toys R Us, that one surprised me. Trader Joe's, Sears, Red Lobster, Apple, as in Apple phone, iPod and all that, Xerox, U-Haul, all of them. Now here's two more things you want to know for your clients. I find this is empowering. When you see the list on exoffenders.com, it's a big list. So that, I think, can empower
And
people
this is
right
in
away.
the Pittsburgh. This is stuff that would actually be in the
These are,
Allegheny County.
yes, this is corporate wide. So
Allegheny.
Applebee's, corporate wide.
Nice.
So the reason, because I was curious about why would some do it and why some wouldn't.
Well, some are dependent
Tax.
more on the. Oh.
They get a tax
They
relief.
do. They get a
And
tech
that's-
for hiring exit.
And I think
I
it's
do.
fantastic to be able to tell your clients that, like, hey, okay, so first you want to teach them like, hey, you have something to bring, right? But then you want to say, no, seriously, you really do have
You have
something to bring.
You have
You're
a tax
break.
You're a tax break.
Yeah.
You're a tax break. And I know I have it here. Pennsylvania is actually a leading state for hiring people with a past, because I think our tax break
Tax break. Yeah.
is the best. So the New York Times said the Pennsylvania statute could be a model for other states. It forbids employers from considering non-convictions like acquittals when making hiring decisions. So that brings me to the final point. And I had said to Allie when I found
really
this, I
interesting.
really would not have thought this. I would not have known this. If you've ever been arrested, I would assume, I would have to say, oh, I was arrested in 2006. Unless there's a conviction, you don't have to say there was an arrest.
Right.
And
Well, that
I'm,
makes sense.
That's where
it
that
makes
informed
sense, but that's
honesty
not what I
comes
would
in.
have
That's
thought.
not what I
Yeah,
would have
Right.
thought
It makes
either.
sense, but it's still public record.
Yes.
It's still in the eye, so they might still know that.
And I think
Yeah.
the final point, and this is how it ties directly back into wellness, the best thing you can tell your client to do is to be direct and be honest. We're just going to use DUI. I was convicted of a DUI in the year 2000. That's it. You don't want to leave room for ambiguity. You want to own it, accept it, and you want to then make a point of the journey. And the wellness is, if you have that, or for me, like I've had a firing in the past, you go into an interview and you are shaking. You're like, oh, what are they going to say? What are they going to ask? You need to have a purpose. You need to know what you're going to say. And it really helps if you were in the moment and you're owning the stress. You're owning, I'm uncomfortable. You're owning that, because then you can own all of the crap and the good stuff. And see, that's what I think about it. How do you own the good if you're not going to own the crap? Like,
Absolutely.
both of them are coming with you.
It's very existential.
And by practicing the meditation,
We are.
yeah. And by practicing the meditation, it gives you room for both. Yes, I had a DUI in 2000. I didn't, but I had a DUI
No, I
in
understand.
2000.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of goes with some of the stuff that Kathy was talking about with her narrative presentation. You're owning some of that, but not letting it define you. You know, you may have had some of these issues in the past, but you are not an ex-offender. You
Right.
might have that is not who you are.
You're not
You
a
are
junk-
you're not an
person that's
addict,
trying to
you're
do
a-
all
yeah.
these different things. You know, you're going to interviews, you're trying to do this self-improvement. So you're owning the things that have happened. You're being direct with them.
Right.
You're not defining yourself as that person.
Yeah. I think that sums up the reason why we thought the two even went together in the first
I think it
place.
definitely does.
Oh, yeah, I can absolutely, and I see this as a good way to get people with addiction issues, meditation,
Yeah.
Well, because finding
being
that
able to be
balance is
quiet with
hard.
yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
boredom is one of the main reasons people relapse.
Mhm.
Right.
Being able to be bored, being able to be with yourself.
Yeah, accept that boredom.
I like that.
Yeah, it's great.
And instead of being bored, it's, you have a moment to sit quietly, do something useful with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might use this next semester
Good.
with
So
a group. I might
yeah.
try to do this with a group.
Thank you for helping us with our
This
presentation.
was wonderful. This is actually perfect for what I'm doing at Renewal right now.
Right.